What if I told you that your greatest weapon isn't your strength, your money, or even your connections, but your mind? Life throws storms at all of us, betrayal, setbacks, uncertainty. But imagine if instead of breaking you, each storm became fuel to rise stronger. Think of the chess master who sees 10 moves ahead, calm while the world panics. What if you could train your mind to outsmart not just problems, but life itself? This is not about luck, it's about mastery. Today we begin shaping the kind of mindset that can't be defeated, only sharpened. Ready? Let's begin. Calm is not weakness, it is the hidden strength that most people overlook when life gets loud, chaotic, and overwhelming. In the heat of a challenge, when emotions flare and pressure mounts, the natural instinct is to react quickly, to fight, to shout, to rush. But it is in that very rush that mistakes are born and opportunities are missed. The moment you choose to pause and breathe, you separate yourself from the noise and reclaim control over the only thing you truly command: your response. One deep, intentional breath signals to your mind and body that you are not a victim of the situation, but the master of it. It slows your heart rate, clears the fog of panic, and creates a space where clarity can rise above confusion. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. If you panic, the storm consumes you. But if you remain calm, you see the openings, the safe paths, the opportunities hidden within the chaos. Great leaders, athletes, and visionaries all share this trait. They do not allow urgency to dictate their intelligence. They slow time with composure, thinking strategically while others crumble under the weight of impulse. Calm is not passive, it is deliberate, it is strength disguised as stillness. It is the quiet confidence that allows you to bend without breaking. Every breath becomes a reset button, a chance to regain focus, to choose wisely instead of recklessly, to transform pressure into precision. Training yourself to breathe before you act is like sharpening a sword before battle. It ensures that when you move with power, accuracy, and intent. The calmest person in the room is often the one who holds the greatest influence, because calm is contagious, and through your steadiness, you teach your mind and the world around you that nothing can shake you. Every obstacle you face carries a hidden lesson, but most people miss it because they see only the discomfort, the delay, or the pain standing in front of them. The mind naturally resists hardship, craving the easy path, yet growth has never been born from ease. When you shift your perspective and begin to see obstacles as teachers, everything changes. The problem is no longer an enemy, but a guide pushing you towards strength, wisdom, and resilience you did not know you possessed. Think of every failure not as an end, but as a classroom where the most valuable insights are taught through experience rather than theory. The setback that frustrates you today could be shaping the patience you will need tomorrow, or the creativity to find a solution that would have never appeared had life gone smoothly. History's greatest achievers were not those who avoided obstacles, but those who embraced them, dissected their lessons, and used them as stepping stones toward mastery. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" That one question transforms frustration into curiosity, despair into determination, and struggle into strategy. An obstacle is never permanent. It is simply a challenge waiting for you to outgrow it, a signal that you are being stretched beyond your current limits. With every difficulty you endure, you are collecting tools, insights, and strength that will serve you in future battles. The mind that learns to welcome obstacles no longer fears them, because it knows that every mountain climbed makes the next one easier. Life will never stop placing hurdles in your path, but the moment you view them as teachers, you stop feeling punished and start feeling prepared. And with that shift, nothing can truly defeat you. Life is rarely a straight line, and those who thrive are the ones who learn to think beyond the moment, to anticipate not just the next step, but the possible outcomes that follow it. When you prepare 3 steps ahead, you transform uncertainty into strategy, reducing the power of surprise and giving yourself an edge over those who act on impulse. Every decision carries ripples, and the ability to see where those ripples may lead allows you to act not only wisely but with confidence. Think of a chess player. Victory is never about the single move in front of them, but about envisioning how each move opens or closes possibilities further down the board. Life works the same way, with every choice shaping future opportunities or challenges, and foresight becomes your shield against regret. To anticipate outcomes is not to predict the future perfectly, but to prepare your mind for possibilities, both favorable and unfavorable, so that you are never caught powerless. This practice builds adaptability because when one path closes, you already have another in motion. Most people react when things happen, but those who think steps ahead act before they must, positioning themselves where advantage already exists. Preparation does not mean living in fear of what could go wrong. It means creating a mindset that is alert, calculated, and proactive. By training yourself to ask, if I choose this path, what might happen next? And then after that, you sharpen your vision to see beyond the immediate gratification or panic that blinds so many. Thinking ahead is not only a tool of survival, it is a tool of leadership, because those who anticipate outcomes become the calm anchors others rely on when uncertainty arrives, and that foresight becomes the true definition of strength. Emotions are powerful forces, capable of driving you to greatness or pulling you into destruction, and the difference lies in whether you command them or allow them to command you. Anger, fear, excitement, and sadness are not enemies, they are signals, but when left unchecked, they can cloud judgment, fuel impulsive choices, and trap you in cycles of regret. The person who learns to control emotions becomes unshakable, because while others are tossed around by their moods, they remain steady, clear, and focused. Control does not mean suppression, it means awareness and direction. Choosing how to use the energy behind the emotion instead of letting it spill recklessly into actions you cannot take back. Anger, when guided, becomes courage to set boundaries. Fear, when managed, becomes alertness that keeps you sharp. Sadness, when understood, deepens empathy and connection. Excitement, when focused, fuels creativity and bold decisions. But without control, anger destroys, fear paralyzes, sadness isolates, and excitement blinds. This is why mastering emotions is not a luxury, but a necessity for anyone who wants to outsmart life's challenges. Breath, reflection, and pause are tools that give you the space to observe before reacting, to let the initial surge settle so the mind can lead instead of the impulse. Every time you choose not to lash out, not to panic, not to give in to despair, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than the fleeting storms inside. Emotions are temporary waves, but you are the ocean, and when you remember that, nothing can drown you. To control your emotions is to control your destiny, because no matter what happens outside, you remain the master within, and that mastery is the foundation of true strength. Life rarely unfolds the way you expect, and those who cling too tightly to rigid plans often break under the weight of sudden change, while those who adapt quickly bend, adjust, and rise stronger. Flexibility is not weakness. It is the ability to pivot when the path ahead shifts, to change strategy without losing focus on the destination. Force alone may push through obstacles for a moment, but when circumstances evolve, raw strength without adaptability eventually fails. Nature itself teaches this truth. The tallest trees that resist the storm are often uprooted, while the reed that bends with the wind survives. To adapt quickly is to accept that control over external events is limited, but control over your response is unlimited. When you train your mind to see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity to grow, you become resilient in a way that outlasts those who rely solely on brute willpower. Flexibility means being open to new ideas, embracing different methods, and shifting perspective when old ways no longer serve. It means you do not waste energy resisting what already is, but instead channel your strength into adjusting, learning, and moving forward with momentum. The faster you adapt, the less time you lose in frustration, and the more you position yourself ahead of those still stuck in resistance. Every setback, every detour, every unexpected turn is an invitation to adjust your course without abandoning your goal. Adaptability is survival, but more than that, it is mastery, because it allows you to thrive in any environment, under any pressure, and through any storm. Flexibility outlasts force because while force eventually tires, adaptability renews itself with every challenge, turning change from an enemy into an ally. Complaints drain energy, weaken focus, and keep you tied to the very problem you wish to escape, while solutions empower, energize, and move you forward. It is easy to complain because it requires no effort beyond pointing out what is wrong, but it never changes the situation. It only magnifies the negativity and traps your mind in helplessness. The shift happens when you train yourself to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead ask, "What can I do about it?" That question redirects your energy from despair to possibility, from paralysis to progress. Focusing on solutions does not mean ignoring the difficulty. It means acknowledging it while choosing not to dwell on it. Every problem carries within it the seed of its own solution, but you can only see it when your attention is on answers rather than excuses. Complaints close doors, but solutions open them. People who constantly complain attract others who reinforce their victimhood, while those who think in terms of solutions attract opportunities and allies who value progress. The mind is like a flashlight. Wherever you point it, that area expands, so if you shine it on problems, they grow larger, but if you shine it on solutions, possibilities begin to multiply. This mindset builds resilience, because you stop waiting for circumstances to fix themselves and start realizing that you hold the power to respond creatively and constructively. In every challenge, you can either become bitter or better, and the choice lies in what you focus on. Solutions may not always appear instantly, but the act of searching for them transforms you into someone who moves forward instead of staying stuck. Complaints trap you in the past, but solutions create the future. You want pressure is something everyone faces, but the way you interpret it determines whether it breaks you or builds you. Most people see pressure as a burden, a weight that suffocates their potential. But in reality, pressure can be the spark that ignites greatness if you choose to frame it differently. Diamonds are created under immense pressure, not comfort. And in the same way, your best self is often revealed when life pushes you beyond what feels easy. Instead of saying, "This is too much," shift to, "This is my chance to rise." Pressure sharpens focus, accelerates decision-making, and forces you to access strengths you may not have realized you had. The adrenaline that comes with high stakes can paralyze you with fear or energize you with clarity, and the choice lies in your mindset. Athletes, leaders, and innovators all know that pressure is not something to avoid, but something to embrace, because it separates those who crumble from those who conquer. When the heat is on, your preparation meets your courage, and together they transform stress into momentum. Training yourself to see pressure as performance fuel means that every challenge becomes an arena to showcase discipline, adaptability, and resilience. Instead of asking to escape pressure, learn to channel it into action, because the body responds to stress by releasing energy. You decide whether that energy is wasted in panic or invested in performance. The more you expose yourself to pressure and handle it with intention, the more confident you become in your ability to thrive in demanding situations. Pressure is proof that what you are doing matters, and if you embrace it with the right mindset, it becomes the very fuel that propels you toward your highest level of achievement. Ego is the veil that blurs vision, convincing you that you already know enough, that you must always be right, and that admitting mistakes is weakness. Yet true clarity only comes when you set ego aside and embrace humility. Ego feeds on pride and comparison, keeping you locked in battles that don't matter, chasing validation instead of wisdom. But humility opens the door to learning, growth, and deeper understanding. Detaching from ego does not mean lowering your worth. It means recognizing that your value is not tied to being superior to others, but to becoming the best version of yourself. When you let go of the need to prove, you free your mind to improve. Humility allows you to listen with openness instead of defensiveness, to see solutions instead of clinging to being right, and to welcome feedback that sharpens your perspective. Ego thrives on illusions, but humility thrives on truth, and with truth comes clarity, because you no longer see through the filter of pride. The greatest leaders and thinkers are not those who shout the loudest, but those who remain students even at the peak of success, never blinded by the arrogance of ego. When you detach from ego, you stop taking setbacks personally and start viewing them as lessons, and you stop competing with others unnecessarily because your focus shifts to progress, not approval. Humility gives you peace because it removes the constant struggle of defending an image, replacing it with the quiet confidence of authenticity. In every situation, ask yourself whether you are serving your ego or your growth, because one leads to blindness while the other leads to clarity. The more you practice humility, the clearer your path becomes, and with clarity comes strength that ego can never provide. Failure is often seen as the end of the road, a mark of defeat that signals you were not good enough. But in truth, failure is one of the most powerful strategies for success when you learn how to use it. Every mistake contains information, every setback holds feedback, and every loss is a lesson pointing out what needs to change for you to grow stronger. The only true failure is refusing to learn, because as long as you extract wisdom from the experience, it becomes part of your strategy rather than a dead end. Think of inventors, athletes, and leaders who achieved greatness. Their journeys were paved with failures that taught them more than success ever could. Failure exposes weaknesses you might ignore in victory, revealing blind spots and forcing adaptation, and this process builds resilience, creativity. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What can I build from this?" Because reframing the experience transforms failure from punishment into preparation. Each attempt that doesn't work eliminates one wrong path and moves you closer to the right one, sharpening your focus and strengthening your determination. Failure is not evidence of inadequacy, it is evidence that you are in motion, taking risks and striving for something beyond your comfort zone. When you begin to see failure as a strategy, you stop fearing it and start embracing it as a necessary part of mastery. You become bolder in your pursuits because you know that even if you stumble, you are collecting insights that will compound into eventual success. Great victories are born from people who refused to treat failure as final and instead used it as fuel to refine their vision, strengthen their skills, and carve paths others were too afraid to attempt. Silence is not emptiness. It is a powerful tool that most overlook in a world addicted to noise, opinions, and constant reaction. To master silence is to discover the strength that comes from restraint, patience, and deep listening. When you choose silence, you create space not only to hear others but to understand what lies beneath their words. The tone, the pauses, the emotions unspoken that often reveal more truth than speech ever could. Many people miss opportunities, damage relationships, or make poor decisions because they rush to fill silence with their own voice. But wisdom often belongs to those who wait, observe, and absorb before acting. Listening is not passive, it is active awareness, a discipline that sharpens intuition and allows you to see patterns hidden from the restless mind. In silence, you hear more than conversations. You hear yourself, your instincts, your fears, and your truth rising above the noise of distraction. Great leaders and negotiators know the value of silence, using it to disarm, to invite honesty, and to make others reveal more than they intended, because silence compels truth to surface. When you master silence, you are no longer enslaved by the urge to prove, to argue, or to dominate, and in that restraint lies clarity and influence. You learn that silence is not weakness but control, the ability to guide interactions without force, to gather knowledge without exposing your hand. Hidden truths are always present, but only those who listen deeply can uncover them, and silence is the gateway to that discovery. In mastering silence, you strengthen patience, cultivate wisdom, and build presence, for silence is not the absence of power, but the refinement of it, allowing you to move with insight where others stumble in noise. Life presents you with endless options, countless paths, and overwhelming possibilities, and while freedom of choice is a gift, too many choices often create confusion, hesitation, and unnecessary stress, which leads to paralysis instead of progress. The human mind craves clarity, and clarity is born from simplicity, the ability to cut through the noise and focus on what truly matters. When you simplify your choices, you reduce the clutter that clouds judgment, and you sharpen your focus on the decisions that align with your values, goals, and vision. Most people believe complexity makes them smarter, but in reality complexity often hides fear, indecision, or the unwillingness to commit, while simplicity creates momentum and direction. Simplifying choices does not mean lowering standards, it means removing distractions and unnecessary variables that keep you stuck. When you face a decision, ask yourself what outcome you truly want, what aligns with your highest priorities, and what option brings you closer to growth rather than comfort. By stripping away the layers of noise, the answer becomes clearer and the path becomes lighter. Clarity allows you to move forward with confidence because you are no longer wasting energy analyzing endless scenarios or drowning in what-ifs. Great achievers, innovators, and leaders are not those who chase every possibility, but those who identify the essential and devote themselves fully to it. In every moment you have limited energy, and simplifying your choices ensures that energy is invested where it produces the greatest return. Confusion weakens resolve, but clarity strengthens commitment, and the way to clarity is through simplification, asking what really matters now and what can be left behind. When you practice this consistently, decision-making becomes smoother, your mind becomes calmer, and your progress accelerates because you are no longer scattering yourself across too many paths. Simplify your choices, and you will discover that life itself feels lighter because confusion fades when you stop overcomplicating and start focusing. And in that focus you gain the strength to move forward with certainty, discipline, and peace. The balance between vision and action lies in the ability to think long-term while still acting fully in the present moment, because one without the other leaves you either drifting without direction or planning endlessly without progress. Thinking long-term gives you purpose, a North Star that guides your decisions, protects you from distraction, and ensures that your energy is invested in something meaningful rather than wasted on fleeting impulses. Yet vision alone is not enough, because a dream without action remains only a dream, and this is why acting in the moment is equally essential. When you bring full focus and effort into what you are doing right now, you transform ordinary steps into building blocks of extraordinary results. Long-term thinking prevents short-sighted choices that sabotage your future, while present action prevents procrastination that steals your potential. Most people swing too far in one direction. They either live only for today with no regard for tomorrow, or they plan endlessly for tomorrow and never move today. But mastery comes from harmonizing both. Every great achievement is built by those who hold a clear vision of where they want to go while pouring relentless effort into each small action that carries them there. Acting in the moment does not mean being reckless. It means giving your best to the task at hand while keeping your eyes on the larger picture. Thinking long-term allows you to endure hardship with patience because you know every sacrifice is shaping something bigger than the present discomfort. Acting in the moment keeps you grounded, engaged, and consistent because success is never achieved in leaps but in the accumulation of small, focused steps. When you live this way, you no longer waste energy on regrets about the past or worries about the future, because your long-term vision keeps you steady and your present action keeps you progressing. To think long-term and act in the moment is to live with purpose and discipline, combining the wisdom of foresight with the power of presence. And this harmony creates momentum that nothing can derail, because you know where you are going, and you are fully engaged in getting there now. The most powerful voice you will ever hear is not the criticism of others or the praise of the crowd, but the voice that speaks inside your own mind, because it has the ability to either weaken you with doubt or strengthen you with courage. Your inner voice is constantly shaping your reality, influencing your confidence and guiding your choices, often more than you realize. If that voice is filled with negativity, fear, and limitation, you will live small, second, guessing yourself and hesitating to step into your true potential. But if that voice is trained to speak strength, resilience, and belief, you will rise to challenges with unshakable determination. Training your inner voice begins with awareness, noticing the words you say to yourself in moments of stress, failure, or uncertainty, because those words often decide whether you give up or push forward. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," you replace it with, "I am capable and I will figure this out." Instead of, "I always fail," you affirm, "Every failure teaches me and makes me stronger." The brain believes what it hears repeatedly, and when you consistently feed it words of strength, it begins to respond with confidence, calm, and clarity in situations where you once felt powerless. This is not about blind positivity. It is about intentional reinforcement of your true capabilities and a refusal to let fear dominate your thoughts. Every great achiever has battled doubt, but what separates them is their ability to turn that doubt into dialogue that fuels rather than drains them. The inner voice becomes a coach instead of a critic, reminding you of your resilience, pushing you to keep going, and anchoring you in belief when everything outside feels uncertain. The more you train it, the more automatic it becomes, until strength is not something you force, but something that flows naturally through every thought and action. When your inner voice speaks strength, you stop being your own enemy and become your most reliable ally, and that shift in self-dialogue can change the entire trajectory of your life, because no external challenge can defeat a mind that refuses to tear itself down. Life has a way of teaching us the same lessons until we finally learn them, and the evidence lies in the patterns that repeat themselves across our experiences, relationships, and choices. If you look closely, you will notice that many of your current struggles echo situations you have faced before, perhaps with different faces and circumstances, but with the same underlying message you were meant to grasp. When you ignore these patterns, you feel trapped in cycles of frustration, wondering why the same problems keep appearing, but when you study them with awareness, you realize they are not punishment, but guidance. Patterns reveal where you are stuck, where you resist growth, and where you must change your perspective or behavior to move forward. Every mistake you repeat is life reminding you that something vital has been overlooked, and until you acknowledge it, the lesson will return in some form. By studying patterns, you begin to see beyond surface events and recognize the deeper truths shaping your journey, whether it is the need for stronger boundaries, greater patience, improved discipline, or more trust in yourself. History itself proves that patterns govern not just individual lives, but entire societies, as nations rise and fall for similar reasons, and the wise learn by observing rather than repeating. When you cultivate the habit of reflection, asking yourself why certain challenges reappear, you gain insight that transforms confusion into clarity and pain into progress. Patterns are like teachers who grow louder each time you ignore them, and the sooner you pay attention, the sooner you break free from cycles that no longer serve you. Studying them is an act of self-mastery because it allows you to predict and prevent problems before they repeat, saving time, energy, and heartache. Life is generous with its lessons, but it is up to you to recognize them, and when you do, the cycles begin to shift because you have finally learned what was meant to be learned. The more you honor these patterns, the more empowered you become, because you stop stumbling blindly and start navigating with awareness, turning repetition into revelation and struggle into wisdom. There is a profound difference between reacting and responding, and mastering that difference can change the outcome of every challenge you face, because reacting is instinctive, emotional, and often reckless, while responding is intentional, strategic, and grounded in clarity. When you react, you allow external circumstances to dictate your behavior, giving power to anger, fear, or frustration in the heat of the moment, and more often than not those reactions create regret, broken trust, or missed opportunities. When you respond, however, you create space between stimulus and action, pausing just long enough to let your higher reasoning guide you rather than your impulses. That small pause becomes the bridge between chaos and control, between losing ground and gaining it. Strategy always beats impulse because strategy considers consequences, anticipates outcomes, and aligns action with long-term goals, whereas impulse satisfies only the emotion of the moment. Responding does not mean being slow or indecisive. It means being deliberate, choosing with intention rather than being dragged by emotion. Imagine someone provokes you with harsh words. Reaction would be to lash back and escalate the conflict, but response could mean addressing the issue calmly, de-escalating the tension, or even choosing silence as power, and in doing so you protect both your energy and your dignity. Life will constantly test your patience and self-control, but each test is an opportunity to practice mastery over your impulses. Every time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen your ability to remain unshaken in situations that would rattle most people, and that composure becomes a form of influence and respect. Responding requires awareness, discipline, and foresight, but the rewards are immense because it allows you to turn obstacles into opportunities and conflicts into lessons. Strategy is the language of leaders, while impulse is the downfall of the undisciplined, and the more you commit to responding with thought rather than reacting with emotion, the more control you gain over the outcomes of your life. This is how you outsmart not only challenges but yourself, ensuring that your actions always serve your purpose rather than sabotage it. Talent may open doors, but it is discipline and mental stamina that determine whether those doors stay open, because talent without consistency fades while discipline transforms even ordinary ability into extraordinary achievement. Mental stamina is the ability to keep going when motivation fades, to endure discomfort, and to push through resistance long after the excitement of starting has disappeared. Most people rely on bursts of inspiration, but those bursts are short-lived, and when the challenges grow heavy, they quit, while the disciplined mind continues step by step until progress is undeniable. Discipline is not glamorous, it is built in the quiet hours when no one is watching, in the daily choices that seem small but compound into strength and mastery. Mental stamina means training your mind to resist the temptation of giving up, to replace excuses with effort, and to stay committed even when results are slow. History is filled with people of immense talent who never fulfilled their potential because they lacked discipline, while those with average skills but relentless consistency eventually surpassed them. Discipline is the great equalizer because it does not depend on luck, mood, or talent. It depends on willpower and persistence, qualities that anyone can build with practice. Mental stamina grows when you deliberately step into discomfort, when you practice doing what is necessary instead of what is easy, and when you prove to yourself day after day that you can endure. Each time you choose discipline, you strengthen the voice inside that says, "I can keep going," and each time you give in to weakness, that voice fades. The strongest minds are not the ones born with natural gifts, but the ones forged through struggle, repetition, and relentless practice. Discipline beats talent, because talent may impress once, but discipline impresses always, creating a foundation that nothing can shake. If you want to outlast challenges, achieve goals, and build a life of purpose, focus less on what you are given and more on what you cultivate. because mental stamina will carry you where talent alone cannot. And it is in that endurance that greatness is born. Problems feel heavy when you see them as walls blocking your path, but the moment you reframe them as puzzles to solve, they transform from sources of stress into opportunities for creativity and growth. A puzzle does not frustrate you in the same way a problem does, because you expect it to be challenging and you approach it with curiosity, patience, and persistence, knowing there is always a solution if you keep working at it. This shift in perspective changes your emotional state, because instead of panic you feel engaged, and instead of defeat you feel determined. Life's problems are rarely permanent roadblocks. They are complex puzzles designed to stretch your thinking, test your resourcefulness, and sharpen your resilience. Every time you encounter difficulty, you can either focus on the weight of the obstacle or on the possibility hidden inside it, and the choice you make determines whether you remain stuck or move forward. Puzzles require strategy, observation, and trial and error, which mirrors the very process of overcoming life's challenges, where each attempt teaches you something new until the pieces begin to fit. By treating problems like puzzles, you stop seeing failure as a final outcome and start seeing it as feedback, an essential part of the process that brings you closer to the answer. This mindset removes fear and replaces it with curiosity, which is far more empowering because curiosity keeps you searching while fear convinces you to quit. The greatest innovators, leaders, and creators all mastered the art of reframing problems into puzzles, which is why they saw possibilities where others saw dead ends. Every problem carries within it a lesson, a strategy, or a new path forward, and you can only uncover it if you approach it with the mindset of a solver, not a victim. Reframing problems as puzzles does not make life easier, but it makes you stronger because it keeps you mentally engaged, emotionally balanced, and creatively sharp. With this perspective, challenges no longer intimidate you. They invite you to play, to learn, and to grow, and through solving them you become more capable of handling the next puzzle life places in front of you. Focus is your most valuable resource, because where your attention goes, your energy flows, and yet most people allow their focus to be stolen by distractions, negativity, and habits that drain more than they give. Protecting your focus means treating it like treasure, recognizing that every interruption, every wasted hour, and every unnecessary commitment takes away from the energy you need to build the life you want. The modern world thrives on pulling your attention in every direction, but you cannot achieve greatness if your mind is scattered and your energy is leaking into things that do not serve your purpose. Eliminating what drains energy requires brutal honesty about the people, environments, and habits that consume your strength without contributing to your growth. Sometimes it is constant negativity from others, sometimes it is endless scrolling, sometimes it is tasks that feel urgent but are not truly important, and until you remove them, your focus will always be diluted. Protecting focus is not about doing more, it is about doing less of what weakens you so you can do more of what strengthens you. When you guard your attention, you reclaim control over your time, your productivity, and your peace of mind. Every distraction you eliminate frees up energy that can be reinvested into meaningful action, and that compounding effect becomes the difference between mediocrity and mastery. Focus thrives in clarity, and clarity is only possible when you clear out the clutter that competes for your mind's space. Protecting focus also means setting boundaries and being willing to say no, because every yes to something that drains you is a no to something that could build you. Your energy is not infinite, and those who achieve the most are not the ones who do everything, but the ones who protect their focus so fiercely that their energy is invested only where it matters most. When you eliminate what drains you, you discover a sharpness of mind, a calmness of spirit, and a surge of energy that allows you to move faster and stronger toward your goals. Because focus is the currency of progress and protecting it is the key to power. Fear holds its power in the shadows, growing larger the longer it remains undefined, but the moment you name it, you strip it of its mystery and begin to reclaim control. To outsmart fear, you must face it directly, because avoidance only feeds it and silence only strengthens it. Fear thrives on ambiguity, on the unknown, on the stories your mind invents when clarity is absent. But when you give it a name, whether it is fear of failure, rejection, loss, or change, you transform it from a vague monster into a challenge you can confront. Naming fear creates distance between you and the emotion. Instead of being consumed by it, you can observe it, analyze it, and decide how to respond. Facing fear means refusing to let it dictate your actions, standing tall even as the pulse quickens and the mind tries to run, because courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move despite it. The act of looking fear in the eye reveals its true size, and often you realize it is smaller than the imagination made it seem. Fear can be reframed into fuel, a signal that growth is near, because the things you fear most often align with the things that matter most. Each time you confront fear, you weaken its hold and strengthen your resilience, teaching your mind that you are bigger than the emotion trying to control you. Outsmarting fear is not about pretending it does not exist. It is about exposing it, questioning it, and transforming it into a stepping stone rather than a barrier. By naming and facing your fears, you reclaim authority over your life and prevent hesitation from stealing opportunities. The path of growth always demands courage, and courage is built not by running from fear, but by proving to yourself, again and again, that you can meet it head-on and keep moving forward. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools you can use to prepare your mind, because the brain does not fully distinguish between imagined experiences and real ones, meaning that rehearsing success mentally builds the same neural pathways as practicing physically. When you visualize, you are training your subconscious to recognize the path ahead, reducing uncertainty and boosting confidence before you ever take action. Athletes, performers, and leaders all use visualization because it primes the mind for performance, allowing them to step into situations with clarity, calmness, and certainty. By vividly imagining the process, not just the outcome, you rehearse the steps required to succeed, which prepares you to handle challenges with greater ease. Visualization also reduces fear because it replaces unknowns with familiar mental scenarios, turning anxiety into readiness. The more detailed your visualization, the more effective it becomes, seeing the environment, hearing the sounds, feeling the emotions, and experiencing the steps as if you are already living them. This mental rehearsal programs your mind to expect success and conditions your body to follow through with aligned action. When obstacles appear, your brain recalls the mental blueprint you created, giving you composure under pressure and guiding you toward the choices that match your vision. Visualization also strengthens focus because it aligns your attention with your goals, filtering out distractions that do not serve your imagined reality. By practicing success internally, you shift your identity, convincing yourself that you are capable, prepared, and worthy of the outcome you seek. This creates a cycle where confidence fuels performance and performance fuels more confidence. The greatest advantage of visualization is that it allows you to experience victory before it happens, so when the moment arrives, it feels familiar, not foreign. Your mind becomes your ally, not your saboteur, and instead of doubting, it supports you with certainty. The future belongs to those who can see it before it exists, and visualization is the skill that makes this possible by preparing the mind to meet reality with strength, clarity, and unwavering belief. Curiosity is the spark that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the invisible into the visible, and the impossible into the achievable, because every breakthrough in life begins with a simple question. Staying curious means refusing to accept things at face value, challenging assumptions, and opening your mind to possibilities that most people overlook. When you approach life with curiosity, you train your mind to search for meaning, patterns, and opportunities that remain hidden to those who think they already know everything. Questions are not signs of weakness. They are signs of strength because they reveal humility, openness, and the courage to admit that there is always more to learn. The greatest minds in history were not the ones with all the answers, but the ones who asked better questions, questions that forced them to see beyond the obvious and discover truths that changed the world. Curiosity fuels creativity because it invites you to explore without fear of being wrong, and in that exploration you uncover new angles, fresh ideas, and solutions that logic alone cannot provide. When you ask questions, you expand your perspective, and with every new perspective comes the ability to navigate challenges more effectively. Curiosity also breaks the walls of fear because instead of dreading the unknown, you seek to understand it, and once understood, fear loses its grip. To stay curious is to stay alive in spirit, because curiosity keeps the mind young, flexible, and engaged no matter your age or circumstances. It is curiosity that opens unseen doors to opportunities, relationships, and wisdom that remain locked to the complacent mind. Every conversation you enter with curiosity has the power to reveal insights. Every setback you analyze with curiosity teaches you lessons, and every environment you explore with curiosity holds hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. Curiosity is also the antidote to stagnation, because the moment you stop asking questions, you stop growing, and when growth stops, fulfillment fades. Staying curious requires humility, patience, and discipline, because the ego wants to pretend it knows enough, but the curious heart knows that knowledge is endless. The questions you ask yourself determine the quality of your decisions, because asking, "How can I use this?" or "What is this teaching me?" shifts your focus from helplessness to empowerment. Curiosity is not just about seeking answers, but about seeking understanding, and in that deeper understanding, you find clarity that others miss. By committing to curiosity, you build resilience, adaptability, and wisdom, because life cannot surprise you in the same way when you are always prepared to explore and learn. Every question is a key, and the more keys you carry, the more doors you can unlock, shaping a life filled with discovery, growth, and infinite possibility. Challenges are not interruptions to life, but essential parts of it, shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than you were before. When you expect challenges instead of fearing them, you approach them with readiness rather than resistance, and this single mindset shift turns struggle into strategy. Resilience is not built in comfort, it is forged in the fire of trials, setbacks, and obstacles that test your patience and perseverance. Every difficulty you face is an invitation to grow, to discover untapped strength, and to expand the limits of what you believe you can handle. Life has a way of presenting challenges exactly when you least want them, yet those moments often carry the most powerful lessons, teaching you endurance, adaptability, and resourcefulness. By expecting challenges, you strip them of their ability to catch you off guard, and instead of breaking you, they prepare you. Resilience is not the absence of pain or struggle, it is the ability to rise despite them, to bend without breaking, to fall and still get back up with determination in your eyes. The storms of life are not meant to destroy you, but to sharpen you, much like a blade becomes sharper through friction. Each challenge you overcome strengthens your mental and emotional muscles, creating confidence that you can face the next one with even greater composure. When you view obstacles as opportunities for resilience, you stop asking why they are happening to you and start asking how they are happening for you, and that shift changes everything. You learn to see the hidden gift inside adversity, whether it is patience, discipline, courage, or humility, and those qualities stay with you long after the challenge has passed. Expecting challenges also reduces fear because you no longer see them as signs of failure, but as stepping stones in your growth. Every challenge prepares you for something greater, building the foundation for achievements you could not reach if everything were easy. Resilience is a skill, and like any skill, it is strengthened through practice, through facing difficulty and refusing to surrender. Challenges teach you that you are far more capable than you think, that strength is not something you are given, but something you create through persistence. The road to any meaningful goal will never be free of obstacles, but that is what makes victory so valuable, because triumph without struggle carries no depth. When you expect challenges, you learn to embrace them, to meet them with focus and courage, and to transform them into tools that shape your future self. Resilience sharpens with every battle, and those sharpened edges become the armor you carry into life, protecting you, empowering you, and reminding you that no matter what comes, you have already proven you can endure and rise again. Patience is not weakness, but one of the most powerful strengths you can develop, because timing often determines the difference between success and failure. When you build patience, you give yourself the gift of clarity, avoiding rash decisions that are driven by impulse or fear. Timing is a silent weapon that works in your favor when you know how to wait, watch, and act only when the moment is right. Every great strategist, leader, and creator has understood that rushing often leads to mistakes, but patience allows you to see the bigger picture and choose your actions wisely. Life is not a race to the fastest finish, but a test of endurance, and those who master patience can outlast those who burn out chasing instant results. Building patience means training your emotions to stay calm in delay, to resist frustration when things move slower than expected, and to trust that persistence will bear fruit at the right time. Often opportunities need time to ripen, and if you act too soon, you miss the full potential of what could have been. Patience is the discipline of trusting the process, of knowing that progress may be invisible at first, but is happening beneath the surface, preparing you for breakthroughs you cannot yet see. It sharpens your mind because in waiting you observe more deeply, noticing details and patterns that others overlook. Patience also strengthens resilience because it teaches you to endure setbacks without surrendering your vision. The world often glorifies speed, but mastery is rarely built overnight. It is the result of steady, patient effort applied consistently over time. When you use patience as a weapon, you disarm opponents who are reckless with haste, and you gain an edge by conserving energy while they waste theirs. Timing allows you to strike when conditions align, ensuring maximum impact with minimum effort. Patience is not about standing still, but about moving with intention, choosing the right moment to step forward instead of rushing blindly into action. It builds confidence because you are no longer enslaved to urgency or pressure, but guided by strategy and calm judgment. Patience also creates emotional strength because it allows you to control your reactions rather than letting frustration or fear dictate them. Every delay becomes training for your endurance, and every pause becomes preparation for your success. When you build patience, you understand that setbacks are not signs of failure but parts of timing, nudging you to wait for something better. The greatest victories in life often belong to those who waited, who nurtured their vision slowly, and who trusted that timing would work in their favor. Patience transforms obstacles into stepping stones, delays into preparation, and timing into an invisible force that amplifies your strength, proving that sometimes the greatest weapon you hold is simply the ability to wait until the world aligns with your persistence. Gratitude is more than a polite thank you. It is a powerful mindset that shifts your focus from what is missing to what is already present, and in moments of panic, this shift can disarm fear and restore calm. Panic thrives in scarcity, in the overwhelming belief that something is wrong or that something is lacking, but gratitude disrupts that cycle by reminding you of what is steady, what is working, and what is abundant in your life. When you consciously direct your attention to the blessings you already hold, panic loses its grip because the mind cannot spiral into fear and appreciation at the same time. Gratitude anchors you in the present moment, grounding your thoughts in stability rather than letting them race into imagined disasters. It becomes a mental tool that interrupts anxiety and teaches your nervous system to relax, allowing you to face challenges with more clarity. Gratitude is not denial of difficulties, it is the recognition that even within struggle, there are reasons to remain hopeful and strong. When panic tells you everything is falling apart, gratitude whispers reminders of resilience, relationships, opportunities, and lessons that are still alive within you. By practicing gratitude daily, you build an inner reservoir of calm, one you can draw upon when chaos tries to take over. This reservoir acts like armor, soft yet unbreakable, protecting your mind from the illusions of helplessness. Panic feeds on loss of control, but gratitude restores a sense of agency because it shows you that while you may not control everything, you can always control your perspective. Gratitude also reshapes memory, helping you recall times when life seemed overwhelming yet somehow worked out, reinforcing trust in your ability to overcome again. The act of listing things you are thankful for, no matter how small, creates a pause that interrupts the storm of panic and reorients your focus towards strength instead of weakness. Over time, gratitude becomes a habit that rewires your brain to scan for the positive rather than obsess over the negative. It creates a foundation of emotional resilience, allowing you to stay steady even when external circumstances are uncertain. Leaders, healers, and resilient individuals have always leaned on gratitude because it transforms fear into perspective and panic into peace. Harnessing gratitude does not remove life's challenges, but it changes how you meet them, ensuring that fear does not control your decisions or cloud your vision. Gratitude turns what you have into enough, what you fear into growth, and what you face into something survivable, making it one of the most powerful antidotes to panic. When gratitude becomes your default response, panic becomes powerless, and you regain the clarity, strength, and calmness to move forward with courage and confidence. Complexity often disguises itself as sophistication, but in truth, it is usually a web of distractions, layers, and noise that hide the real issue beneath. When faced with a challenge, it is easy to get lost in the details, overwhelmed by variables, or paralyzed by overthinking. Yet the key to progress is not adding more but stripping away until only the core remains. Simplifying complexity does not mean ignoring nuance. It means cutting through the clutter to identify the one thing that matters most, the root from which all other branches grow. Every problem has a center, and once you find it, solutions become clearer, faster, and more effective. Complexity drains energy because it scatters attention across too many directions, but simplicity focuses power by aligning thought and action toward what truly counts. To find the core issue, you must ask questions that dig deeper than surface symptoms, refusing to settle for easy explanations until you uncover the real driver of the problem. This process requires patience, clarity, and the courage to be honest with yourself, because often the core issue is uncomfortable to face. Yet it is always better to confront the truth than to keep wasting effort solving secondary problems that only mask the real one. Simplification sharpens decision-making because once you know the essence, you can channel your resources with precision rather than dilution. Think of a tangled knot. Pulling at random threads only tightens the mess, but finding the starting point allows you to unravel it with ease. The same applies in life, business, and relationships, where clarity replaces confusion the moment you identify the root cause. Simplifying complexity also builds resilience because it prevents overwhelm, reminding you that no matter how tangled things appear, there is always a central thread waiting to be found. Many people mistake business for productivity because they chase symptoms instead of addressing causes, but true effectiveness comes from solving the few things that influence the many. Once you practice the habit of simplification, challenges no longer feel insurmountable because you know how to cut through noise and focus only on what moves the needle. This mindset frees you from panic, saves time, and preserves energy that would otherwise be wasted. Complexity is often an illusion created by fear, procrastination, or lack of clarity, but simplicity is truth. It is direct, sharp, and actionable. The art of finding the core issue is a discipline that requires consistent practice, yet it is one of the most liberating skills you can develop. When you simplify complexity, you reclaim control over your circumstances because you no longer feel trapped in a maze, but empowered to navigate straight to the heart of the matter. In that clarity lies strength, and in that strength lies the path to lasting solutions, and forward momentum. Energy is the currency of life, and how you spend it determines the quality of your days, the progress of your goals, and the strength of your spirit. Just as you would guard your most precious treasure from thieves, you must learn to protect your energy from people, habits, and environments that drain it without giving anything of value in return. Too often, energy is wasted on overthinking, unnecessary conflict, constant distractions, and obligations that do not align with your true priorities, leaving you exhausted and unfulfilled. Guarding your energy means recognizing its value and choosing carefully where and with whom you invest it, because once spent it cannot be retrieved. Every thought, every action, and every interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal from your inner reserves, and when you allow too many withdrawals, you are left bankrupt in spirit, unable to give your best to the things that matter most. To guard your energy, you must first become aware of what drains you and what fuels you, noticing patterns in your emotions, your focus, and your physical state after certain activities or encounters. Some people uplift you, leaving you inspired and alive, while others deplete you with negativity, complaints, or chaos, and learning the difference is the first step towards self-protection. Similarly, certain habits like constant scrolling, procrastination, or indulging in worry may seem harmless in the moment, but slowly erode your vitality over time. Guarding your energy requires discipline and boundaries, the willingness to say no to what does not serve you, and the courage to walk away from what pulls you away from your growth. When you see energy as treasure, you begin to use it with intention, investing it in people, projects, and practices that bring returns of joy, progress, and peace. You learn that not every battle deserves your fight, not every invitation deserves your presence, and not every thought deserves your attention. Protecting your energy also means creating environments that support your well-being, choosing spaces, routines, and mindsets that strengthen you rather than weaken you. Rest, movement, nature, and silence are powerful ways to recharge and protect your reserves, reminding you that energy is not only protected but also renewed when you take care of yourself. Guarding your energy is not selfish, it is essential, because when your reserves are strong, you can give more, love more, and achieve more without collapsing under the weight of exhaustion. It allows you to show up fully present, rather than half alive, for the people and purposes that truly deserve you. When you learn to treat your energy as treasure, you stop scattering it on what does not matter, and you begin to live with clarity, focus, and strength. Your energy is your power, your fuel, and your freedom, and guarding it is one of the greatest acts of self-respect you can practice. By protecting it fiercely, you ensure that it remains available for the battles worth fighting, the dreams worth chasing, and the life worth living. Every person you meet carries a lesson, and when you learn to recognize that truth, life itself becomes a continuous classroom. Too often, people dismiss others because they dislike them, disagree with them, or feel threatened by them, but wisdom comes from extracting value even in the most unlikely places. Friends inspire you with support and encouragement, mentors guide you with experience, and even strangers may plant ideas that shift your perspective, but perhaps the greatest lessons of all come from those you consider enemies. An enemy reveals your weaknesses, exposes your blind spots, and forces you to confront aspects of yourself you might otherwise ignore. Instead of resenting them, you can choose to learn from the reflection they provide. Enemies sharpen your resilience because they challenge you, sometimes ruthlessly, and in that challenge you discover your strength. They teach you patience when you want to react in anger, self-control when you are tempted to retaliate, and strategy when you must outthink instead of outfight. They become unintentional teachers of discipline and growth, shaping you through their opposition in ways comfort never could. Every critic, every rival, every adversary presents you with an opportunity. You can waste energy hating them, or you can channel that energy into learning, improving, and rising above. Learning from enemies does not mean excusing their actions or welcoming harm. It means recognizing that even through conflict, life is offering you insights. An enemy may teach you the importance of boundaries, the necessity of courage, or the value of discernment. They may highlight flaws in your character or gaps in your skills that need strengthening. If you listen closely, even their insults may carry truth you can use to refine yourself. By learning from them, you remove their power to diminish you, because instead of wounding you, their presence becomes fuel for your evolution. On the other hand, friends and allies teach you lessons of love, loyalty, and trust. They remind you of the beauty of support, the strength of unity, and the healing power of compassion. But if you limit your learning only to those who agree with you, your growth will always be incomplete. True mastery comes from balancing the wisdom of allies with the hard lessons of adversaries. Each person, whether uplifting or opposing, is a mirror reflecting something back to you. Sometimes light, sometimes shadow, but always something you can use. When you embrace the idea that everyone is a teacher, your perspective on relationships shifts entirely. You stop labeling encounters as purely good or bad and start seeing them as purposeful. Gratitude replaces resentment, because even betrayal can teach trust in yourself, even rejection can teach resilience, and even hostility can teach compassion. The art of learning from every person allows you to turn life into an unending source of growth, ensuring that no moment is wasted. Enemies, like friends, become part of your development, pushing you in ways comfort never could, and in that process you rise beyond bitterness into wisdom. Every encounter holds a lesson, and when you remain open to learning from all, you unlock the ability to grow endlessly, becoming stronger, wiser, and more unshakable with every experience. Life is in constant motion, and the ability to adapt determines whether you move with it or get left behind. Change is inevitable, and those who resist it often find themselves stuck in frustration, unable to thrive because they cling to what no longer serves them. To keep adapting is to stay alive in spirit, to remain flexible enough to grow with the times, and to recognize that stagnation is nothing less than slow defeat. Stagnation drains your energy, erodes your confidence, and traps you in patterns that prevent progress, while adaptation sharpens your resilience and expands your possibilities. Every obstacle, every shift in circumstance, every unexpected turn in the road is an invitation to evolve, and if you meet that invitation with openness instead of resistance, you unlock strength you did not know you had. Adaptation is not about abandoning your values or identity. It is about adjusting your strategies and perspectives so that you can move forward even in uncertain conditions. A tree that refuses to bend with the wind eventually breaks, but one that bends remains standing, rooted and strong despite the storm. In the same way, your ability to adapt allows you to withstand pressures that would otherwise crush you. Life's challenges are often less about what happens to you and more about how you respond, and when you cultivate adaptability, you ensure that your response is effective rather than self-defeating. Stagnation, on the other hand, is the silent killer of dreams because it convinces you to stay the same, to hold on to comfort, and to avoid risk, but in doing so it robs you of growth. Adapting also keeps your mind sharp and your perspective fresh. When you step into new situations with flexibility, you train yourself to see opportunities where others see only problems. This mindset allows you to navigate uncertainty with creativity, finding pathways that would remain invisible to a rigid mind. Adaptation builds confidence because each time you adjust and overcome, you prove to yourself that you are capable of handling whatever comes next. This self-trust becomes a powerful anchor in times of chaos, reminding you that no matter how unpredictable life may be, you can always find a way through. Those who stagnate often wait for circumstances to change before they act, but those who adapt change themselves first, and in doing so, they create momentum where none existed. The world rewards flexibility because it ensures survival, growth, and innovation. Every industry, every relationship, every personal journey demands adaptation at some point, and the ones who rise are not the strongest or the smartest, but the most willing to adjust. Stagnation is defeat not because it signals failure, but because it signals surrender, a decision to stop evolving while life keeps moving forward. To keep adapting is to remain a student of life, always learning, always experimenting, always willing to let go of what no longer fits, so you can embrace what moves you closer to your potential. It is a commitment to growth over comfort, progress over paralysis, and resilience over rigidity. The moment you stop adapting, you stop living fully, but the moment you embrace adaptation, you ensure that no challenge can ever truly defeat you, because you will always find a way to rise, transform, and keep moving forward. Believing in possibilities others overlook is the mark of visionaries, leaders, and dreamers who refuse to be confined by what seems obvious or safe. The world is full of people who see only limits, who are quick to say what cannot be done, and who measure potential only by what already exists. But history proves that progress is born from those who dared to imagine more. Every invention, every breakthrough, every transformation began as an idea that others doubted or dismissed, yet someone believed in it strongly enough to pursue it. To cultivate this kind of belief, you must train your mind to look beyond the surface, to search for hidden opportunities where others see dead ends, and to trust your vision even when it is invisible to everyone else. Possibilities are like seeds buried beneath the soil, unseen and often ignored. But with faith, patience, and action, they grow into realities that once seemed impossible. Believing in possibilities does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let current circumstances define the limits of your future. Where others see failure, you can see feedback. Where others see risk, you can see potential. Where others see obstacles, you can see stepping stones. This shift in perspective transforms doubt into drive and keeps you moving when others give up. Believing in possibilities requires courage because it often means standing alone, defending an idea or a dream when no one else can see its value yet. But it is in those moments of solitude that true conviction is tested and strengthened. When you believe in overlooked possibilities, you develop the resilience to persist despite skepticism, criticism, or rejection. You understand that the world is not always ready for new ideas, but that should not stop you from nurturing them until their time arrives. Many people fail not because their ideas lack merit, but because they abandon them too soon under the weight of doubt. To believe in what others overlook is to recognize that greatness often hides in places few are willing to explore. It may be in the quiet work behind the scenes, in the lessons learned from failure, or in the opportunities disguised as problems. By keeping faith in these hidden possibilities, you open doors that remain locked to those who only follow the obvious path. This mindset also fuels creativity and innovation, because it challenges you to ask what could be rather than settling for what is. It trains you to think expansively, to connect ideas in new ways, and to see beyond limitations into potential. Believing in overlooked possibilities also inspires others, because when they see your conviction, they begin to question their own doubts and open themselves to new horizons. A single person's belief can ignite a movement, transform an industry, or heal a broken spirit, and that is the power of seeing what others miss. To live with this belief is to live with hope, courage, and vision, knowing that hidden within every moment are opportunities waiting to be discovered. It is the willingness to trust your imagination, to act on your insights, and to persist when the world tells you no. Others may overlook possibilities, but if you choose to believe, nurture, and pursue them, You will create a life defined not by limits but by the infinite horizons your vision dared to see. Remember, your mind is the battlefield. Win there first, because every action you take, every word you speak, and every outcome you experience begins in thought long before it becomes reality. The victories or defeats you face in life are often determined not by external circumstances, but by the strength of your inner dialogue, the clarity of your focus, and the discipline of your mental state. If your mind is cluttered with doubt, fear, or negativity, you will find yourself paralyzed even when opportunities surround you. But when your mind is sharpened, resilient, and trained to see possibilities instead of problems, you become unstoppable, no matter how fierce the challenges ahead may seem. The mind is constantly in conflict with itself, torn between impulses and strategy, fear and courage, comfort and growth. But the one who learns to control this inner war controls the direction of their entire life. Winning in the mind first means cultivating awareness of your thoughts and choosing which ones to fuel and which ones to silence. It means recognizing when fear whispers defeat before you even try and answering it with courage. It means catching the voice that says, "I can't," and replacing it with, "I will find a way." The world outside may try to push you down, but if your inner world is fortified with belief, patience, and vision, no setback can truly break you. The battlefield of the mind demands daily discipline. Just as a soldier trains relentlessly to be prepared for war, you must train your thoughts consistently to prepare for the battles of life. This comes through focus, self-control, and repetition, choosing every day to feed your mind with knowledge, positivity, and strategy instead of distraction, doubt, and weakness. The more disciplined your thoughts, the sharper your decisions, and the clearer your path forward becomes. If you lose in the mind, if you let fear control you, if you surrender to negative thoughts, if you allow distractions to drain your focus, then no matter how much talent, opportunity, or resources you have, you will sabotage yourself before you even begin. Victory starts invisibly, in the quiet moments when you decide to keep going despite exhaustion, when you choose focus over distraction, when you silence excuses and step into action. Winning in the mind does not happen overnight. It is a continuous practice of resilience, like building a fortress brick by brick. Every time you refuse to let fear dictate your choices, you strengthen the walls. Every time you reframe failure as feedback, you reinforce the foundation. Every time you commit to your vision despite doubt, you fortify the gates against negativity. Over time, your inner battlefield transforms from chaos to control, and that control gives you the strength to outlast, outthink, and outperform. Remember, the mind is not just the starting point of success. It is the filter through which you experience reality. If your thoughts are weak, every challenge will look insurmountable, but if your thoughts are strong, every obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth. Win in your mind first, and the world will eventually have no choice but to follow your lead, because nothing outside can defeat the one who has already claimed victory within. The journey of training your mind to outsmart any situation is not about chasing perfection, but about building mastery over the one thing you can always control: your inner world. Life will test you with challenges, fears, and setbacks, but each is an invitation to strengthen your mental discipline, sharpen your perspective, and rise above impulses with strategy. You've learned that calm is power, that resilience is built in adversity, that patience, humility, focus, and gratitude are weapons stronger than force, and that the battlefield is always within. True strength is not measured by how much you avoid struggle, but by how you transform it into growth. Outsmarting life does not mean avoiding failure or hardship. It means facing them with a mind so prepared, so resilient, and so alive with vision that nothing can truly defeat you. When you believe in possibilities others overlook, protect your focus, silence fear, and respond with clarity, you step into the role of strategist, creator, and leader of your own destiny. The lessons are simple yet profound. Guard your energy, master your inner voice, stay curious, keep adapting, and above all, win in your mind first. Because once you claim victory there, the world outside bends to meet the strength of your will, and no situation will ever be greater than the power you hold within.